Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Anna Manuel. Millions of dollars is being invested into the wastewater treatment plant in Bath. Our Sonia Ellison tells us exactly how much is being invested and what the money will be used for.
Funding for the Bath wastewater treatment plant is on its way, along with several infrastructure improvement upgrades. I've got the scoop on that and what local residents want out of this modernization project. The update will include nutrient removal and disinfection upgrades, while the plan also includes the construction of new facilities and rehabilitating existing ones. Funding awards total about $22 million in grant monies and $25 million in interest-free financing, while state and federal funding have mitigated the increased financial burden on Village of Bath ratepayers. BEGWS says the project will allow the village to more safely, reliably, and effectively meet more stringent limits as required by the New York State DEC. Improvements will also increase the permitted treatment capacity supporting residential, commercial, and industrial development within the village and nearby areas of the town. Construction is now underway as Bath Electric Gas and Water Systems begins to modernize what they call a cornerstone of the village. In Bath for Big Fox WYDC, I'm Sonia Ellison.
A 12th person has been arrested in connection to the murder and kidnapping of homeless Ithaca man Thomas Rath. Tioga County Grand Jury indicting 37-year-old Newfield man Joseph Howell on charges of first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping, and intimidating a witness. Charges for 2 other suspects were also upgraded. Police say on May 20th, Rath was abducted from an Ithaca homeless camp called The Jungle, and his body was found August 3rd in a shallow grave on state land in Candor. Police also say more indictments are to come in this case. Finger Lakes State Parks announced the 2023-2024 hunting schedule for the region's state parks. Hunters must check with the park office to obtain a self-issue permit for any hunting and must review the New York Department of Environmental Conservation Hunting and Trapping Guide for the current dates and additional rules. For a complete list of participating parks and rules, go to the website on your screen. Ithaca Tompkins International Airport received a $750,000 federal grant from the Department of Transportation. The airport is aiming to add more flights to the airport, like nonstop flights to Washington, D.C. International Airport. The pandemic sparked a loss in local flights and a nationwide pilot shortage. The airport hopes the federal grant will make flights to Charlotte, Detroit, and Philadelphia from Ithaca Tompkins International possible again. President Biden prepares to visit the Middle East as Israel continues gearing up for a ground assault on Gaza. Madeline Rivera has more from Jerusalem.
The U.S. is deepening its involvement in the conflict between Israel and Gaza as the fighting intensifies. The Israeli military stepping up its attacks on Hamas targets in the Gaza Strip, while the U.S. works with regional allies on the diplomatic front. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has been in the region for days trying to secure the release of American hostages. And on Wednesday, President Biden arrives here to show support for Israel and also push for aid for Palestinian civilians.
That's obviously going to be high on the president's agenda to make the case that humanitarian assistance not only needs to start, but it needs to be able to be sustainable.
The president's visit comes as Israel prepares for a ground assault in Gaza. Tanks and troops are now massed at the border, but military officials say they still haven't gotten the green light from Prime Minister Netanyahu.
We are prepared for whatever decision the government will make about how this conflict will continue.
Meanwhile, the situation in Gaza remains bleak. Overnight, Israeli airstrikes killed dozens of Palestinians in an area where civilians were told to shelter. And with basic supplies like food and medicine running out, some parents say their kids are struggling to survive.
They cannot even reassure their children to tell them that it's going to be okay, because maybe it's not going to be okay.
The U.S. says at this point more than 1 million Palestinians have left their homes for the evacuation area in southern Gaza. In Jerusalem, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
Jim Jordan came up short of votes to be the new House Speaker, with another round of voting expected tomorrow. Caroline Shively has more from Washington.
Jim Jordan is strategic, scrappy, tough, and principled. He is a mentor, a worker, and above all, he is a fighter.
Jim Jordan is within reach of becoming the next House Speaker, but his first attempt to secure the gavel on the House floor came up way short.
The Speaker has not been elected.
I still believe he can unite this conference.
Jordan must flip at least 20 Republican skeptics to win a majority of the full House.
Jim Jordan asked me to support him. We had a frank conversation on Sunday. I told him that I was with McCarthy. I've always told him I was with McCarthy.
How did it feel to lose the first round?
The longer this drags on, the worse it could get for Mr. Jordan. With no speaker for the past 2 weeks, the House hasn't done any work, like passing bills or getting emergency aid to Israel. While Democrats have been pushing for the House to get back to business, they are less than thrilled about a potential Speaker Jordan.
A vote today to make the architect of a nationwide abortion ban a vocal election denier and an insurrection insider to the Speaker of this House would be a terrible message.
They view the House Judiciary Chair as a Trump-supporting extremist, and Democrats are totally united, again nominating Hakeem Jeffries to lead the chamber.
He is also the candidate with the most credibility.
The last time the House went this long without a speaker was over 100 years ago. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Shoppers just kept buying in September. Retail sales for the month came in up 0.7%, more than double the estimate. A lot of that is due to strong car sales and higher gas prices. Auto dealers posted a 1% gain in sales. Receipts at gas stations also rose nearly 1%, but that largely reflected higher gas prices. Retail sales represent about 1/3 of all consumer spending. September falls between back to school and holiday shopping season and tends to reveal less about how consumers are doing. Researchers make strides in the early detection of ovarian cancer that could save lives. A new blood test could help diagnose ovarian cancer cases earlier, according to a new study at the University of Southern California. The test, called Ovaprint, is described as highly sensitive and specific for women experiencing symptoms, with the potential for future use in asymptomatic cases. The research says high-grade serous ovarian carcinoma is often diagnosed at later stages. The report is published in the journal Clinical Cancer Research. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are forming a bipartisan caucus to tackle mental health. Republicans and Democrats say they want to destigmatize the discussion and treatment for mental health.
And it's up to us, all of us, to expand the conversation, to make conversation about mental health normal, and to tackle this crisis head on. So for all the harm of the last several years, the pandemic has put a spotlight on mental health awareness.
So far, the new caucus has 10 members, including Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, who has been open about his own mental health struggles. We have your complete forecast coming up next. Plus,
it's called The Happiest Place on Earth, and as Disney celebrates its 100th birthday, there are some big challenges facing the House of Mouse. I'll have that story right after the break.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Well, good evening and happy Tuesday. Since the weekend, we've been battling some of those rain showers, now bringing our 5-day precipitation total, which is really just a 3-day total there, to just under an inch. And as you add today's few hundredths of an inch, we'll get closer to hitting that official 1-inch marker. But we are going to talk about some quieter conditions move in. We did see sometimes a blue sky, but you also still had some of those gray clouds that were able to shake out a few of those light rain showers. But brighter conditions will move in. Now, with the clearing and the calming that is taking hold tonight, note that that is going to allow for some patchy fog development as our fog prone areas here. We'll see some of that hang on through at least about the mid-morning, so make sure to travel with care as you step out the door. But we are expected to see more areas of that sunshine here through the end of the work week. We'll see that we'll have even quiet conditions pair up with it before, as we head into the end of the day Friday, we are going to start off what will be a rainy weekend. We may even track a few moderate pockets. At the moment, not expected expected to deal with excessive rainfall that would lead to any flooding concerns, but at least another good dosing of some rainfall is going to be setting up with the systems that are moving in, which we'll detail here in just a moment. And then note that following this system, there is going to be a quick cool down in those temperatures that will take hold into early next week, giving us more of that fall-like feel. Now, what we'll note is that, as mentioned, we'll have that fog through about the mid-morning, but then sunshine breaking out of that cloud cover should be able to allow that to lift, and we'll bring in areas of that sunshine with a high temperature even heading towards those 60s. Now, you'll want to get out and enjoy the sunshine. That will not only be around for tomorrow, but around into our Thursday. But what we see setting up from Friday into Saturday is going to be the interaction of these two low pressure systems. This low is going to be sweeping from portions of the upper Midwest into the Northeast. And then we have a low pressure system that is riding the east coastal regions. And with these two systems merging up, what we notice is that we pull in some moisture from the Atlantic waters, as well as with this low pressure system, some cooler air. And with those matching up, it creates an environment that will allow for some lagging rain showers throughout that weekend forecast, as well as following that, some of those cooler temperatures and at times some gusty conditions due to the proximity of those two low pressure systems. So we're noting that even from Thursday all the way through Sunday, we have winds anywhere from at least 20 to 30 miles per hour. Now note that majority of these winds are from the south until Sunday. That's when we're going to start to talk about some cooling. So with light winds and some areas of sunshine for tomorrow, we'll look at high temperatures anywhere from those upper 50s to those low 60s. So a beautiful October day. Into Thursday, this should be our brightest day with a high pressure system overhead and the southerly wind starting to continue to increase, which will give us mid 60s. Might be a little blustery, but the strongest winds will be around when those rain showers start to take over, where we still hold mild through much of the weekend, but we'll get a little pushback in those temperatures as that system moves out, and we should be back to some sunshine by Monday.